as Haitian people, we need to embrace a pluralistic approach to American politics. It's no longer the time to have the monolithic approach where you only vote for the Democratic Party. And we know already, by principle, Haitians are more Republican than anything else. Again, the danger to pursue a monolithic approach in politics is that whenever the other...
Welcome to the Amlet Isma Podcast, an analysis of the current events from a Christian worldview.
Bienvenue. Abonnez-vous pour comprendre le narratif à partir d'une vision chrétienne du monde.
Subscribe to the Amlet L Isma Podcast to get a Christian view on real-world matters.
Abonnez-vous au podcast Amlet L Isma pour obtenir un point de vue chrétien sur des questions du monde réel.
Alright guys, I want to talk today about something very particular. I noticed that, especially within the Haitian community, whenever someone votes for a candidate, they assume that you endorse everything this candidate does in life. So I want to address that by saying that power and trust go pair to pair. I repeat, power and trust go pair to pair. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, power, guys, must be maintained within a frame. Without this frame, power becomes chaos, dictatorship. Without this frame, guys, power cannot be respected. It is broken. The trust is broken. Simply. We had in the past some, powerful leaders that lose their power because they didn't keep the frame of that power. And whenever power doesn't respect his own rules, his own frame, it becomes corruption. So you understand that when power becomes corruption, it's no longer trust by the majority. So it is to say to you guys, whenever someone votes for a candidate, or say Christians, or say a group of Christians, or more individually, say a man or a woman vote for a candidate, he doesn't or she doesn't necessarily endorse everything this candidate does or advocates for. When I vote for someone, when I vote for a candidate, when John, when Peter, when James, when Alwet, whoever vote for someone, for a candidate, that doesn't necessarily mean that this person endorses every single thing that this candidate does in life. No, it doesn't. Someone who votes for a candidate in that sense, he usually votes because he had to choose between the lesser evil. And why do we say evils? Because by experience, we know that candidates carry with themselves their personal interests. With that being said, you have two candidates before you. You don't pretend that you do not see their flaws. You don't pretend that you do not see the weakness. It's because that you see the weakness, you vote for one of them, but you choose the lesser evil. So as Christians, whenever Christians vote for candidate, that's my opinion. I don't speak for all Christians, by the way. I speak for myself. I believe that they must do three things. First, they must prioritize values over parties. They must prioritize, I repeat, values over the party. Say a Christian is a Democrat, for example. Well, whenever he has to vote in an election, the first thing that this Christian needs to do is to prioritize his values, his personal belief, over the priority of his party, over the priority of the Democratic Party in that case. So we understand now, by prioritizing the values over the Democratic values, over the Republican values, they show that the decisions are informed by scriptures. Prioritize the loyalty to God, the loyalty to the faith first and foremost, over a political party. They should examine candidates' policies and character through a biblical lens and asking whether these candidates promote justice, for example, mercy, and humility. Now, you understand that the first thing that someone needs to check before he votes for a candidate is to make sure that he prioritizes his values, his Christian values, if he's a Christian, over the political party values. The second point that a Christian needs to check before voting for someone is to make sure or to avoid Christianizing political parties. This is something I noticed lately in America. People who claim to be Christians, they tend to consider the Republican Party as a Christian party. The Republican Party is not a church. No, it is not a church. It is not a Christian party. It is not a Christian political party. None of them is a Christian party. So we need, guys, to discourage, the efforts that are made to make these political parties look like they are Christian churches. We must need to remain careful not to fall into the temptation that says this party is Christian, this is not Christian. With that being said, we understand clearly that some parties that showcase a Christian worldview much more visual than other parties, other political parties. We get that. But we must remain cautious not to give a political party a white pass, a blank pass, and to say, well, this is a Christian party. No, it's not the case. And the third point that someone needs to check before voting for a candidate, I believe, is that the moral duty to vote should be based on principles. I repeat, the moral duty of this person to vote should be based on principles. What do I mean by that? Well, Christians, they do have a duty to vote, because they should choose leaders that promote Christian principles, Christian education, Christian worldviews. They should choose people that promote this kind of stuff. And even the Bible encourages us to pray for our leaders, because they are servants of God. Apostle Paul tells us a lot about that. So as Christians, as citizens, it is our moral duty to vote for leaders. But again, this vote should be based on principles. What principles exactly? Christian principles. Christian principles. Does this candidate value life or promotes abortion, for example? Because as Christians, we believe in the sanctity of life. We believe that someone is a person once the act of conception is made. It's not a bunch of cells. It's not a bunch of tissues. It's a person. So we need to see if this candidate promotes Christian principles, particularly issues regarding the sanctity of life, for example, of family, for example, of marriage. If this candidate fails to promote or to protect the innocent, we can see that as a major red flag. So if you notice what I've been saying so far, you see that all that I'm trying to do is to tell you to prioritize your Christian values over your political party values. Christian values is the element upon which you should base your decision to vote for a candidate or not to vote for a candidate. Now, if you understand that, you also understand that.
Subscribe to the Amlet L Isma Podcast to get a Christian view on real-world matters.
Abonnez-vous au podcast Amlet L Isma pour obtenir un point de vue chrétien sur des questions du monde réel.
We do not need a monolithic approach in the community where every single person in the community is a Democrat. We do not need that for the advancement of the community. With that being said, it's not about party, but about your values. It's not about what a party believes, but about what you believe in. It's not about a party agenda, but it's about your identity and so forth. What you stand for and so forth. So, I think as Haitian people, we need to embrace a pluralistic approach to American politics. We cannot say, as I repeat, I want to stress on that. We cannot say every single Haitian needs to be Democrat because Democrat Party has done such and such thing for Haiti in the past. You cannot do that. We need to have a pluralistic approach to American politics. We need to embrace the American politics from a pluralistic approach perspective, if you will. Because the problem with us, or with the Haitian community, is that, like I said, they widely support the Democratic Party, as if there is one party here in the US. It's no longer the time to have the monolithic approach where you only vote for the Democratic Party. And we know already that by principle, Haitians are more Republican than anything else. And so, we are a force. We are a force if we're willing to give up the monolithic approach when it comes to politics. We are a force if we believe in our values, if we put our values over any political values in the US. If we put our agenda over any other agenda in the US. Because, as you know, everybody is defending their own interest. Again, the danger to pursue a monolithic approach in politics is that whenever the other party comes to power, there's a potential marginalization. There's a potential retaliation against you. There's a group that did not vote for them. And I want to leave you with this quote of Malcolm X. We are in the 60s now, when he said, liberal Democrats are worse than what you think. Liberal Democrats are worse than what you think. With that being said, guys, it is to rectify that power and trust go pair to pair. Prioritize our values over parties. Avoid Christianism political parties. And we have a moral duty to vote.
Subscribe to the Amlet L Isma Podcast to get a Christian view on real-world matters.
Abonnez-vous au podcast Amlet L Isma pour obtenir un point de vue chrétien sur des questions du monde réel.